Hello, everyone. It is Wednesday, the 13th of March, 2024. And I'm going to be speaking about current events internationally to start. And then I'm going to be diving into the number 201. And I'm going to add in a few videos from decoders who have been doing decoding for a lot longer than I have been, like Zachary Hubbard and others. But I digress. I'm just going to get into my X feed. Things be crazy in Canada still. I just shared, again, a video. I'll share it with you if you want me to, but petroleum is not a fossil fuel. I have shared this for years, and I keep resharing it every few months just because people are still not grasping this. And this is the information that people like Stephen Guilbeault, who is a somehow working in cabinet, like this guy is deranged, arrested multiple times for deranged things, right? He's a climate activist, all this stuff, but he's pushing an agenda, right? And he has no idea what he's talking about regarding carbon emissions exchanges and regarding pollution, regarding climate change. He has no idea what he's talking about. And so it's talking about all these rebates for the carbon tax when for anyone that's working, for anyone that's living in rural areas, or like farmers, and which, sure, it's not a huge percentage of the Canadian population anymore because we're getting a surge of immigrants, every single year. And we have like 450 to 500,000 Canadians leaving every single year because of being impacted profoundly by people like Stephen Guilbeault and Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland. Everyone thinks that this is generations old. Absolutely not. Like when it comes to the collapsing the economy and stuff like that, this is all new with these people. And I'm getting profoundly impacted by these carbon taxes, knowing it's a scam, knowing that the increase that happens is just going to line the pockets of people like Stephen Guilbeault and his friends, and because they're lobbyists. And the fact that this guy is not arrested yet, just it's appalling to me. And that he's still getting taxpayers' dollars and he's lying and stealing our money and trying to say that there's rebates that come for, and that middle class and families are they get the most profit from the carbon tax rebates and stuff like that. This is a lie. Like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. So I responded, fake news from a sellout to Canada. Answer your emails and follow up with Canadians who are giving you data that goes against your narrative. You are scamming us, destroying farmers' lives and those of us living in rural areas. It's funny that we mostly vote conservative. So I can only put a certain amount of of characters in. I don't know why, like I'm limited. This is the amount of characters I'm allowed to tweet. And if anyone can help me with that, I would like to be able to tweet more than that because there's a lot more I have to say, right? And so they're attacking conservative voters. So NDP, of course, and Green Party, of course, and liberals who are now leftists that are voting and stuff like that on these measures, they are all literally attacking us because they don't care about us. You've got people in the States. Look what happened in East Palestine, getting targeted and stuff like that. These were Republican voter areas. Every area that's getting impacted by these climate change issues, it's in areas, ironically enough, or conveniently enough, that are not the minority party leadership right now, right? And so this is more stuff that they're doing to oppress us, even within like the smaller farms. Like even myself and my family has been impacted by all the the new regulations with the farming. And then the carbon tax. People cannot afford it. Like, this is hundreds to thousands of dollars extra a month that we are having to pay since the carbon tax. And all this is literally like more than 80% is going on salaries of people who are now working in government. I have a government job now, not fucking qualified to do the job, have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. And again, now they get to pay their mortgages are paid, must be nice. Like this money that they're stealing from us is going towards them having a nice, cushy city fucking life, or suburbia life, and they're not doing anything useful, right? Like, there's climate arson now. People are being extreme. There's directed energy weapons that are being used to make it look like there's a climate, emergency. They're not looking at the weather modifications, geoengineering going on, and how that's impacting like the weather. And if you look at China right now with the humidity, 100% humidity in areas, and they are absolutely fucking around with things like CERN and HARP and geoengineering, weather modification within, and that's what happens. That's what happens. I could go on a tangent with this stuff, but it's just I need to get hired already, like within government, like to be able to train people within cabinet and teach them the reality of the fucking world and the shit that they're pushing, just like how anti-Canadian and anti-humanity it is just beyond me. But anyway, here's some more. Oh no, you're not even gonna see this. How do I get it to fucking transfer over? It's taking a while to load, but I gotta transfer it back over into Twitter.
That try to talk about transitioning and trans issues are the cisgendered gay men that are like, as a gay man, no. No.
Not no, yes. If you don't want gay men to have an opinion on issues surrounding the T of LGBT, then take out the G. You don't get to use our sexuality to push forward an agenda without question, okay? You want us in the alphabet, you have to deal with our opinions.
Get a talk. Your identity as a cisgendered gay man gives you zero credibility to talk about transitioning and trans issues, okay?
Your identity does not make your opinion more credible than mine. Our identity...
I love that. I love that he said that. Your identity does not make your opinion more credible than mine. Because there's people that are identifying as so many friggin' different things out there that are make-believe, in my humble opinion, a lot of them. And they're saying that because like they're so unique that their opinion is more relevant than mine or more valid than mine. And I'm sorry, not in this fucking life. Like, not in this lifetime, and not in his lifetime either.
These are immutable characteristics, meaning we have no control over them. So when people are forming their opinions, they are based off of their own experiences and whether or not they choose to learn from them. That can be done by anyone, whether they are straight or gay or trans or not.
Exactly.
So your identity does not give you leverage over anybody else in a discussion. Your opinions get leverage over another person's opinions when they are backed by logic and reason.
Just know that their opinion is invalid because they can't have like an actual credible opinion.
So if my opinion's automatically invalid, does that mean if I agreed with you, it would also be invalid? If you have to use your identity to make your opinion seem more valid, then babe, you've already lost the argument.
Yeah. I just love that, like these comments. So maybe if I just go into my stories. You know what's crazy? I used to get like hundreds or thousands of views on my stories, and now I get 30, 50. Like, it's really annoying being shadow banned, like when you have like groundbreaking information. This one was funny as well. Let me see if you can actually see that. Is it gonna load in? Oh, maybe. Yes.
Salam, everyone. I just gotta ask, who's cosplaying? See, cosplaying is when you dress up as something that you aren't or someone you aren't. I am a Muslim woman.
No, you are not.
I wear what a Muslim woman wears. I dress like that.
I will pay for your ticket. For your plane ticket. Any Muslim country of your choice. All right? Just a one-way ticket, though.
That's all you needed.
You're not going to need the round-trip ticket on the way back.
Salam, everyone. I just gotta ask.
It's delusional. And like, it's speaking out of, by the way, that woman, like at the end, she does a friggin' hilarious Kamala Harris impersonation. Hilarious. Oh my goodness. Oh, I had more stories. Let me see here. I did it. Okay, so I think I already shared that one. 90% of U.S. cheese contains GMO made by Pfizer, a blood clotting agent. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So I already talked about these things. Arrive scam app.
Yeah. Salam, everyone.
Now, the origins of COVID-19 still a mystery.
So before I say this, still a mystery. No. And I was calling it this, what you're going to see now, I've been calling this for over 4 years. The reason why this is important is because there's a lot of people that woke up during COVID and like were blessed. And it's amazing that there are people that woke up during the pandemic, the scandemic, but there are people out there like myself who've been calling this out all out since the beginning, since before the pandemic even. And so it's not like we woke up during the pandemic, and so like that's also something I wanted to reiterate. And it's not even waking up, like just being aware of how corrupted things have gotten. And I was calling out the Winnipeg, Manitoba Chinese nationals, scientists, like in the anyways, I'll let them talk.
Mystery
I've just been calling this out for years.
despite it killing almost 5 million people since December 2019.
This is the National Microbiology Lab in Winnipeg, Manitoba. It's Canada's only level 4 microbiology lab. It's also the only level 4 microbiology lab in the world.
The only level 4 microbiology lab in the world is in Winnipeg, Manitoba, which is in Canada, which is in my country. And I was sharing this since the beginning, since before they even declared the pandemic. And
that Chinese scientists,
before they declared the pandemic, before the World Health Organization declared the pandemic, I was calling that out and sharing this information and showing the lab leak connection and stuff like that as well. And I was getting called a fucking conspiracy theorist, an extremist, you name it,
outside of China had access to. This lab is also the site of an international espionage story, 5 years in the making, and a 3-year-long cover-up that goes all the way up to the Prime Minister's office. And that cover-up, as documents now show, involves gain-of-function research involving filoviruses from bats. Now, this lab is in a normal Winnipeg area. It's in a residential neighborhood. It's got businesses across the street, and it is near the head offices of Canada Blood Services. And this lab's proximity.
The proximity of the level 4 microbiology lab close to Red Cross, hospitals, all of these places, like blood donation clinics and stuff like that. So yeah, you wonder why I was like sounding the alarm? And I still don't have my contracts back yet from government, despite the fact that I am the best security analyst there is in the country. I've been sharing this stuff from the beginning and everything else. And that gets you punished and penalized, especially when you're in the capital region. And so I'm waiting for my calls back, get me my contracts back, and fire the fucking numpties that you've hired for the last few years. Oh yeah, the ones that are also in court now. Yeah, those guys. I warned you about them.
To all those locations should send a chill up your spine. Why? In 2019, 2 Chinese nationals working at the lab and their students were marched out of the building. They had been working with the Chinese military and transferring deadly pathogens, including Ebola, out of this lab and into the hands of the Chinese People's Liberation Army, with many of those deadly samples ending up in the hands of researchers at the Wuhan Virology Institute. The removal of Dr. Zhang Kui and her husband from this lab triggered a Canadian Security Intelligence Services investigation. That investigation was called the 2020 Report on Review for Cause of Security Status. That report was hidden from the public for 3 years, but 600 pages of it were just made public, and it is damning.
We know as a country that increasingly countries like China and others are trying to either influence or get secrets out of our country. And that's why we have to continue to be extraordinarily vigilant about how we're making sure we're doing everything necessary.
The irony, because look at Justin Trudeau's links with the CCP, with the Liberation Army.
To keep people safe, to keep our research institutions safe.
Reporting on the documents by Sam Cooper from the Bureau revealed that Kui led the Wuhan Virology Institute's, quote, synthetic bat filovirus project with the Wuhan Institute's vice director, Dr. Shi Zhenli. She's known as the Bat Woman. Dr. Shi is the senior Chinese scientist that worked in 2015 on a controversial United States hybrid version of a bat coronavirus. The research, according to those CSIS records, was to assess cross-species infection and pathogen risks of bat filoviruses for future vaccine development purposes.
Now,
So I would love those people to be court-ordered to come back to Canada for jail, you know, or do something with like how the hell. And this is what I mean. Like we had 2 Michaels that were diplomats that were innocent men for over 4 years in prison in China, political prisoners that no one gave a fuck about, that I was calling out from the beginning. Hey, you might want to get these guys out. Their families are being impacted. They're like, Canadians are being like, what is wrong with people? That wasn't of interest. Yet they get to walk freely. Like what the actual fuck? This is what I mean. Yeah, they are committing treason on a regular basis. Treason, regular basis. No one gives a fuck. More proof. This is from Lion Advocacy, a member of parliament. Here's a concise summary of Alberta's cloud seeding situation. Basically, the insurance industry set up a non-profit. Oh, the non-profit. They don't need our fucking money to poison us. That's for free. Entity to spray the sky above Calgary Red Deer with silver iodide and calcium chloride to prevent hail from destroying the insurance biz. This is all bullshit. Their weather modification and stuff like that they're doing, they're playing with fucking nature. The stuff that they're spraying, they're getting money from it. The companies that are being used, that are selling the silver iodide and the aluminum oxide and countless other particles that are chemicals that are being just distributed, like even fiberglass, right? Like they're covering the tracks of like of aircrafts. This is all stuff I've shared. This is admitted. It's proven. There's patents that have been around for fucking hundreds of fucking years. And they've been doing this with the weather modification and stuff like that. And these people need to fucking stop, right? They've gotten comfortable. Their families have gotten comfortable making millions and billions of dollars a year, living these like luxurious lifestyles while we've been paying for it with our fucking lives, okay? Working ridiculous fucking hours, working our asses off. And even now our dollar is not worth what it was. Nowhere, not even fucking close to like 10 years ago, let alone 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Okay, it's supposed to be increasing quality of life, working less and able to do more. That is a first world country, right? So like the fact that people are having to work 16, 20 hours in order to like survive, or having to choose between food or heat, because of everything that's going on, and like getting kicked out of their homes and like the remortgages with the interest rates. These are all criminals doing this. It's not necessary. It's just we're allowing them to do it, right? And so and I've sent up access to information requests to get this information out. Wayne Eyre, the chief of defense staff, Brenda Lucky, head of RCMP. Like, how do people not know that this is happening? These not profits. Okay, we need to look more into them all over Canada and the US as well. All over Canada, this is happening. And these nonprofits, fuck them. They're poisoning us. This is not helping anyone. Not helping anyone. And ironically, it's only after people like, it's only like this has been going on for a very, very long time. It's only after people like myself and others like me finally we're submitting the official data out there, and then on on Signal and Telegram and other means. But we're also like going to government and saying, hey, we are allowed to have access to this information, and setting up access to information requests in order to give us, what are you spraying on us? What are you buying? What are you purchasing? Like who's doing what? Let's see the emails. Let's see. And so like now that that's happening more and more, they're getting scared and they're fleeing the country as well. Pete, Buttigieg, but I never know how to pronounce his fucking name. B12, whatever. Pete, his husband is on tape telling young children to pledge allegiance to the LGBTQ flag. So occult. I talked about treason. I made a roast. This might interest some people as well.
Now, the origins of COVID-19 still a...
Here we have a video from the Mine Explorer in France, where it goes down into...
I think I just figured out how the mud floods were done, like how we buried everything. The prior video showed a guy coming down into a tunnel system, which we have under every main city in the United States, possibly throughout the world. Now, the tunnels were probably used for a transport system referred to as the Hyperloop, which we're not going to go into now. Back to mud floods. How do we cause such a catastrophe that melts the entire world, causing buildings to literally fall in their place and just disappear underground like quicksand? It's a lot of mud. And although we talk about the Great Flood, that is not from rain. Well, I found out recently that you can liquefy sand with air. Watch this. It's a ball in a sand pit. They're blowing air, and it acts like water. Regular sand plus air equals liquefied sand. Wow. Imagine if there were buildings on that thing. They'd all be underground.
Filled to the brim with solid sand. This is one of the coolest things ever. If you take a tub of sand like this and then add air and
Here we have a video from the mine explorer in France, where he goes down into
Yeah, raising the carbon tax on April 1st in Canada. Oh yeah, you might find this interesting as well. So her baby bump dropped. Oops, not there. Interesting. Shame of Thrones. Charles and good friend pedophile Jemmy Savile. They hung out a lot. With a lot of the royal family. And so did Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein. I talk about vaccinations for animals. Also causes health issues. You might find this interesting as well.
Here we have a video from the mine explorer in
Yeah, you got to check out my Instagram and Twitter. I share interesting stuff, I think. I don't know where it's not playing. If we're talking about the ether that was removed in the late 1900s, it's because every experiment done from Earth showed that our world was stationary and the heavenly bodies were moving instead. I call them luminaries. Therefore, they had to remove the ether from the equation for their astrological models to work. Okay, I believe in the symbols like the constellation, the 12 zodiac signs, because I can see them. I can measure them. They're observable. So anyways, so basically, if the ether exists, then the Earth is indeed not moving. I just think that it's interesting that they talk about ether in the 18 and 1900s, and it was removed. Don't worry, it's just flying over the curve. That's funny. That's my doggies. Oh, actually, if you haven't seen my doggies, maybe I'll show them. They're sleeping right now. They were up. I took them out already earlier. Cuties.
I just want to remind everybody, the United States is the world's terrorist. We just set the Middle East on fire in the last 20 years, and now we're doing a proxy war in Ukraine, which we provoked, NATO provoked, and it was just admitted that we provoked it by the former Prime Minister of Germany. This is all about hegemony, imperialism, and economics. And if there's a Marine somewhere, it's there because they're about to steal some natural resources from another country. As everybody's screaming about what a bad guy Putin is for invading Ukraine, the United States is currently occupying a third of Syria. And which third is that? It's the third that has the oil. And how do I know we're there to steal their oil? Because the President of the United States said so. We're the ones provoking this war, just like we provoked the war in Ukraine. We are now provoking a war with China. And who benefits? I'll tell you right now. Your enemy is not China. Your enemy is not Russia. Your enemy is the military-industrial complex, which has been fleecing this country to the tunes of hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars. So again, people are being the war machine cannot be stopped. Who's running this country? The war machine. It certainly isn't Joe Biden making these decisions. I would like to know who is making the decisions. And I just want to remind.
Yeah, not wrong. Sorry, I'm going to talk about 201 soon. I just wanted to talk about more unhinged people.
I just want to remind everybody, the United States.
So everyone's saying that they're within North America that people are attacking the trans community and stuff like that. That is not happening at all. For any there are people like myself who are speaking out on body mutilations for children, irreversible, irreparable damage, because there's a lot of people within the trans community that are being silenced and censored, speaking out, and have started detransitioning, irreversible damage that they profoundly regret what they've done. And there's a lot more, and the suicide rates in the trans community, after the 5 to 7 year mark, is incredibly high. And so there's just a lot of factors, right? Do what you want, as an adult, as long as you're not committing crimes against others or exploiting the most vulnerable, like children. And even with the clinics that have propped up, all over North America, like for these gender reassignment surgeries and stuff like that, these sex reassignment surgeries, 0% of them are successful. You cannot make a man into a woman or a woman into a man. And I'm sorry if that offends people, but that is your parents and your education systems that have failed you, not me. Okay, no offense. And I've shared repeatedly that people are sharing signs, elderly men are sharing signs, or people that are journalists, or people who are friggin' religious. Like again, like non-violent people, like not crazy, none of this stuff, right? Like they're just saying like I don't want my children to be groomed in the education system with someone that has 6 different color friggin' hair colors, and like face piercings, body tattoos, rainbow flags everywhere, and talking about like who they like to fuck. You know what I mean? I don't want my 5-year-old be, and so these are all like very like obviously upsetting things to people that are not crazy. You know what I mean? Like what's being pushed, and they're punching people in the face. They're attacking people. They're shooting up schools, Christian schools also, you know, and churches, etc. These are not people that are victims. These are people who are mentally unwell, that commit violence and aggression towards people that's unprovoked. It's not self-defense or anything. Like, and look how old this man is. So before I get into it, I'm just like so friggin' annoyed.
Don't like it? Yeah! Hey. Yeah! Mark, leave him alone. Leave him alone, Mark. Yeah! Mark, leave him alone.
Back off! Back off!
Leave him alone,
Mark.
Mark, just stand there. Mark, stay there.
Whose child is that?
Let him go.
Like,
Mark, I can handle it.
What the hell are you doing? Back off! Fuck you! Back off right now! Fuck you! Take a hike. You got yourself Christian!
Mark.
Look, they're not important. I don't like you!
Hey, well, there's
you don't touch him.
Mark, don't worry.
I don't like you.
Fuck you!
Mark,
you can attack him, crazy?
I said stop. This man assaulted me and tried to take my sign, and I defended myself.
I got the video.
Your sign is fucking offensive!
I have the right to free speech.
Yeah, this is like crazy. Like your sign is offensive, or what you said is offensive. So because of what you said or your sign that I considered offensive, I get to attack you? No. This is like kids, like maybe kids need to be spanked. Like I've said before, like if I would have done anything like that when I was a fucking child, like to a teacher or like an elderly person, I would, even if I was 8 years old, I would pack up and move away from home because I would be too afraid to go home because I would have got my ass beat. I would have raised differently. I was raised in the country. This was like that stuff was it's a lot more prevalent, you know, or it was when I was growing up. So like, don't judge, like you weren't like in that generation or anything like that. But yeah, like people wouldn't do that because like children would have got their ass beat, like where I come from, if you did that, right? So it wasn't like it was like all parents like pretty much would have like pants like beat anyway.
This country,
not anymore.
And I have the right to freedom of religion, and I am violating no law.
That hates me!
This man, I can press charges for assault on this man right now if I chose to.
Yep.
But I'm not gonna.
And he's being nice, and he made a good point. Like that's all on video. So like that person there could be like arrested and charged. And this is a criminal. This is like a criminal act, and so it would be thousands of dollars. Like could be arrested, could be like in jail for a few days until bail, etc. Have to get a lawyer, have to go to court, thousands of dollars, and all like you know, like and then a record, and then possibly like not be able to have a job. Definitely wouldn't be able to work in government. Definitely wouldn't be able to have like a good career because like no one's gonna hire you. Like especially if they see this, and then wouldn't be approved for a mortgage or insurances or like some education systems would not like approve you because you could be a liability like in their campus. People like this is like they're not getting that like these freakouts, these short-term freakouts that are happening. Like it causes long-term ramifications. Like even with the body the surgeries that are happening with like removing the penis and removing the breast tissue and like cutting off the milk ducts. Like you can never breastfeed a child ever, even if you did consider, you know, reversing like detransitioning. Anyway.
Hate you, just provoke assault.
This man
They think
is
that hate speech is assault. Like, this is how crazy it's gotten. This is how entitled. Anyway.
assaulted me, but I'm not going to press charges against him. Stay away. You don't like it?
Like, I just can't with you. Oh my God. It's a fucking dumpster fire here, to be honest with you. There's a lot more news I can share, but you know, I'm already like 30 minutes in, and so like I was gonna max out at that before I started talking about 201. So just a friendly reminder, just want to throw in some 201s here. Johns Hopkins, which is a PSYOPs institution. It's not an actual like credible institution. This is like that, like literally like the major university education system that is pushing the PSYOPs campaigns within the first world countries. So it didn't surprise me that Event 201 was there, the tabletop exercise. So they called it Event 201. Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security in partnership with the World Economic Forum and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. No one else. So again, like these are not people that are government. They're not American or Canadian. I'm talking about like the institutions and the foundations and stuff like that. And like, and these people are not Canadian. So like, again, I further don't give a fuck about what these people have to say. And they don't have credibility anyways that for people to be listening to them or getting their advice from them, especially international security. Like, absolutely not. Like, you need to be ignorant. Anyway, so a high level pandemic exercise on October 18th, 2019. So just want to share that. And then let's see what else before I get into. I'm just going to give you some more facts, fun facts with the 201. I shared this yesterday, but I'll share it again. We have Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Justin Trudeau's father, in 1969, selling Canadians out and lying to us. So when the Apollo 11 astronauts landed in Ottawa in 1969, they received a warm welcome by Pierre Elliott Trudeau, seller to Canada. The first leader in like the moon landing hoax was July 20th, 1969. You can Google that yourself. I've shared it countless times. That's the 201st day of the year. When did they go? When did he see them? December 2nd, 1969. December 2nd. Oh, well, that's the 12th month, Don. Well, the decathlon and deck and things like that, that means 10. So you got 10/2 for some occult groups like that use symbology and stuff like that. And they believe that September is the 7th month, that November is the 8th month, that October is the 9th month, etc. And so this is, again, that's the one. So that's the 102, the 201, however you want to look at it. And so again, more symbology there, in my humble opinion. Buzz Aldrin and all these fucking sellouts. And so it even says it right here, July 20, when the other news of the day revolved around the moon. so you don't even have to search it. There you go. So like, this is just more verification. So I'll shut that down. And then I will copy a PDF file that I was looking at yesterday, even before I did yesterday's video on the Trudeaus, but I wanted to read more into it because, again, it's a large, lengthy document. And I just wanted to show you that for Canada, actually, I'll get into it in a minute. This is News, NASA, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, Apollo 11 goodwill messages from around the world. Fucking lies and all this other stuff. But this was July 13th, 1969. So even that, it was before the alleged moon landings. And if you just Control F, man has reached out and touched the tranquil moon. Puis trouver la paix. May that high accomplishment allow man to rediscover the earth and find peace. Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Prime Minister. So again, like I'm telling you, like he was a freaking Prime Minister. This is the message that he sent to keep bullshitting us. And there was people from other countries as well. And how many countries? Actually, like I almost forgot that significance because I don't fucking miss. Well, I mean, I miss sometimes online, but like less than anyone else. I like, so I talk about the number 37 and 73 a lot, and 2701, and then you've got the 201 in 2701. But anyway, Johnson and Nixon and messages of goodwill from leaders of 73 countries around the world. So that's 73. That's within the first friggin' paragraph. So I'm like, I don't know about that. So I'm just going through this stuff with you. I hope this is interesting. Let me see. Numbers. Number properties. So I see the 713. Yeah, so 73, 23 times 31. Yeah, it's not too 201. Three times 67 in itself. Not too significant. Okay, so I'm just sorry. If you want to scroll through some more things, I just want to now give you the pearls of wisdom. It's the title of the document. Well, I mean, I guess the pearls of wisdom. That's why it's titled that way. Gematria in the Bible. So then there's 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. So I know a lot of people that watch my videos know that already, and there's 26 in the English alphabet. So you look here, you've got, for example, consider the word wisdom or chakma in Hebrew. And remember that Hebrew script is read from right to left. Actually, there's a lot of countries that read from right to left and top down, and then some that read from top up. It is what it is. But you've got in ordinal gematria, it comes up to 37. In standard gematria, it comes up to 73. 37 and 73 are reflective numbers. 37 and 73 are the 12th and the 21st prime numbers, respectively. 12 and 21 are reflective numbers. 12 squared is 144. And if you look at my chart, like I show you that, like even with the degrees of a circle and the sun's path through the zodiacal signs and all that stuff, like the number 12 significance, and then as above, so below. 12 times 12 is 144. Anyway, 73 is the 37th odd number. Human body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius. Just see here. Something else. I just want to verify first before I say it. Okay, no, never mind. So water will freeze at 0 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. That's right. Anyway, I just wanted to confirm that. 37 and 73 are star numbers, and 37 is also a hexagonal number. The gematria for Israel, Isis, Ra, El, or Elohim, is 541, which is also a star number. The association between the creator and the Star of David should be obvious from the following diagram. It's got this, the 37, 73, 54, Star of Israel. That's this one right here, I believe. 37 times 73 equals 2701. You got the number of dots, whatever you want to call them, when you calculate them, 1, 2, 3, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It adds up to 37 for the Star of Israel, adds up to 73. Hexagon, boom. And then even with 26, like a lot of these shapes adding up to 26. 6 times 2 is 12. It's not in here. That's just me looking at that. And the relationship between these two numbers can be appreciated when it can be seen that the 37 star and the 37 hexagon both fit neatly inside the 73 star. It's super neat. The word from Genesis 1:1 summed to 2701, which is 73 times 37 and the 73rd triangular number. Note that gematria values of the first letter of each of these words sum to 22. So the earth and the heaven, God created in the beginning. So, or in the beginning, God created the earth, the heaven and the earth, is how some people also interpret it. So a lot of you guys are reading this with me. Other gematria values here, 22, 232. I'm just looking for anything that says like 201, 102. The phrase, and they shall be wise, shall shine as the brightness, has a gematria value of 911. $153, the number of fishes caught in John 21, 1 through 15. 276, the number of souls saved from the storm. Again, these are all triangular numbers, sorry. The number of man from Revelation 666. It's a 36 triangular number. 6 times 6 is 36. And then when you add up all when you add up all these circles, sorry, it equals to 21. So that's not 201, but you got the 2 and a 1 in it, you know? The 2700 and the 2701 triangle can be divided into 4 separate triangles in the form 3a plus b equals 2701, where a equals 666 and b equals 703. So this is an inverted triangle or an upside down triangle here, which is interesting. And you've got the 666, 666, 666 on the and row 37. $1998. Everyone says that the Antichrist was born in 1998. I'm like, that also is misinterpreting hidden symbology and astrotheosophy and stuff like that. Yeah, I got 703 again. We got the 73 in there as well. Let me see. There's just more. There's more. The completion of creation triangle then looks like this. I don't know who's going with that, but even 108, there's like, that's also like another fairly common gematria number that's used in certain occult groups, like even with like the rosaries with beads, with and you know, so many other things. Anyway, I'm trying to focus on 201. So there's more, but I wanted to share videos with you from other people that are also decoders. Let me see here. Wow. Okay, show this one first, and then I'm going to get into Matt. Sorry, not Matt. I keep on saying that. Zachary Hubbard. So this is from Event 201, plus date calculations from Zenith of the Alpha. I have not watched this yet. Oh, oh my God, look at this. 73 people have liked it. So even I did not even, I just noticed that. I kind of like it, but now it's going to be friggin' 74. I ruined it.
All right, so in this video, I want to connect the number 201 with a couple of other numbers. So first, a quick recap from my previous video.
Facts, Mike. Friggin' facts, Mike. Pierre Trudeau in Canada. He is, and that's why I'm so much even more frustrated that his son is our friggin' prime minister still, like lying to us about all of this stuff. And you know, because your father is the one that sold us out. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, jail. I would love to see him get peacefully arrested. Pink fuzzy handcuffs. You know what I mean? Because he's a weak little fucking man. You don't want to hurt his wrists. You know, then sue. But anyways, jail, treason. Go.
I'll leave a link in the description box, but in that video,
people think with him that the pandemic is the big thing, and I'm like, oh no, not with his family. No. They're pushing this stuff because they've gotten away with the bigger stuff.
Connected a television show called Squid Game with National Pig Day, which got me thinking about Event 201, which took place in the Chinese Year of the Pig. And I talked a lot about the pig symbol and also case-sensitive ciphers, one of them being Francis Bacon. By the way, shout out to the YouTube channel Lambda115. Lambda pointed out that if we use all capital letters, the word piggy, P-I-G-G-Y, Well, that equals 201. Now, like I said, you have to use all capital letters. This is a case-sensitive cipher, after all. He used the reverse Francis Bacon cipher. Now, how appropriate. Bacon, Francis Bacon. I mentioned the character Francis Bacon in my previous video, but I don't think I showed any gematria examples. But that is a very important cipher. Now, this video is not going to have a lot to do with pigs, I don't think, and I'm not going to talk much about the show, but this will be part of the playlist. Just reminding that in that show, Squid Game, they're competing for a large sum of money, and this prize money is held in a giant piggy bank. Now, I showed this already, but again, this is a recap from... I showed a scene from the second episode of Season 1 where there was a giant screen with numbers on it. These numbers represented the number of contestants remaining in the game. Now, the game started off with 456, which is an important number, and I'm going to connect. This is where I'm going to connect 201 with 456 in this video. Just using the game, this show as a sort of a segue, I guess. But if you saw that scene, it started out with 456, then a bunch of people got eliminated. Now, this show is very violent. Actually, elimination means death in this, so if you're not into that, please don't watch the show. But point is it started at 456, a lot of people died, and then it ended up at 201, which is a very significant number for many people in the gematria community. So I was talking about Event 201, and then I was looking into some things. I know these numbers connect, and one of them being, and I'll give a shout out to a YouTube channel. Hopefully I get the name right. I'll leave a link for his video, but the video was by, I think it was Diverging Perspectives, something like that. I'll leave a link. But that's where I learned about this news story about, well, his title is Event 201 Participant Johnson & Johnson lands $456 million vaccine contract. Now, this story came out in March of 2020. You can see the date at the bottom of my screen here, March 31st, 2020. I believe Forbes came out with it the day before. But if you remember, March of 2020 was when the pandemic was declared. So in the same month, Johnson & Johnson was given this 456. So it has to do with vaccine research. But what an interesting number. It's not 450, around 450 million. No, it's specifically 456 million. So here's where I show you this day calculation that connects 456 with 201. So we can use Event 201 as a starting point. That began on October 18th, 2019. Now you see these date calculations, one on the left, one on the right. They're essentially the same, but instead on the left I have just days, and the right I have years, months, and days. So just looking at the left, for instance, starting on October 18th, 2019, that was Event 201, going backwards a span of 456 days. That brings us to July 20th, which is the 201st day of the year. And then we look at the calculation on the right. Again, it's essentially the same from Event 201. We go backwards to the 201st.
And 12/29, that is also technically my birthday, 12/29, December 29th. And that is also like the 201st prime number. And also when Netanyahu in 2022 became the friggin' leader of Israel again. And it was to usher in the October 7th false flag event. And he is a psychopath. And I said what I said.
Day of the previous year. That,
for me, Netanyahu has the blood of people that I love on his hands, just to be clear. Like, I've buried people I loved overseas over false flag wars that profited schmucks like him to have amazing lifestyles, traveling the world, the best of the best, vacations, foods, wines, entertainment, and all that stuff, while people like myself are risking our lives thinking that we were doing a good thing, et cetera, et cetera. And so for me, absolutely, he deserves jail. Yeah, he lied to Congress in 2002 about weapons of mass destruction and so many other things. And he can go fuck himself. The day that he gets jail and held accountable for his actions and stuff like that is the day that I will finally be more at peace. Him, yeah, especially. Him even more than Justin Trudeau, believe it or not. But very close. Justin Trudeau's a very close second to when he gets jail, if he ever does, because of what his family has done generationally and the harm and death that he has that he is responsible for. This is a day that Canadians will celebrate and we'll be able to start our healing journeys. All of this stuff coming out. I know I keep on stalling this stuff, but like, how much more clear can it be when like there's just too many coincidences, right? Like even with the numbers lining up with 201, there's just too many coincidences that they wouldn't know that this is a lie, right? Like Pierre Elliott Trudeau, if he the 2nd of December of that year, like having like the astronauts like come to fucking Ottawa, Parliament, the capital of Canada. The 201, the 102, like the 73 countries that were involved, like giving their well wishes. July 20th being the day that they actually like landed on the moon, allegedly. Like, fuck off with that. And then 12 astronauts being the only astronauts that landed on the moon. How convenient, 12, just like the zodiacal signs or whatever you want to call these images in the sky that the sun travels through on its elliptical path every single year with precision. I don't know, man. Yeah. It's more recent than people think. All the lies, like the bigger lies, more recent. Like Pierre Elliott Trudeau, again, his son is still alive. He's the current leader of our country, right? So like if they're accountable during the time they're alive, amazing. Peacefully.
Breaks down to 1 year, 2 months, 29 days. And that's a span of, by the way. And those digits there remind me of the 201st prime number. 201st prime number is 1,229. So those digits are 1,
See, I knew that before.
229, and that span of days from event 201 going backwards to the 201st day of the previous year was 1 year, 2 months, 29 days. 1, 2, 2, 9, like 1229, the 201st prime number. Of course, we're connecting this to event 201.
Okay, I'm just going to copy in another one. So I have a few 201s. This one I also haven't watched yet. I'm going to watch it with you because some research I like doing on the spot. This is the significance of the number 201 with the Jesuits. I just figured this was topical, and it's posted a year ago.
All right, so today this is going to be another decode, and this one's on the significance of the number 201 with the Jesuits. And
so regarding Justin Trudeau's Jesuit education, fun fact, Justin Trudeau and Pierre Poilievre attended the same Jesuit school just outside of Ottawa. So for at least their earlier academic years, so post university. So it wouldn't surprise me if he also went to a Jesuit university in the States as well. And that's also like very interesting with the connection with General Trudeau, who was also one of the 15 people that were authorized to be in the rooms and the meetings and stuff like that when people within NASA were and Stanley Kubrick were faking and recording the fake moon landings. And so that's why with Pierre Poilievre, with stuff that he's gotten wrong, a lot of things wrong, like, is he part of it, right? I've been saying this for years, and I didn't vote for him in the last election, and I voted for Maxime Bernier. I was on the record saying that, right? And I wasn't hiding it because he's the only person that was trying to end mandates and the the coercion regarding the vaccine mandates, and he cared about the mass immigration. He cared about like not having like running water and healthy cleaning water in various indigenous communities within Canada. Like he's the only one that cared about Canada and Canadians, literally the only one. And yeah, and so that's why like I don't like unless I've emailed him countless times, unless he actually sits down and has a meeting with me. And we could like discuss things for like a few hours. I could share so much data with him. I would tell him to bring a hard drive and like for sure, like not even a USB stick, unless he brings multiple USB sticks, and just like take the time to listen to people that know what the fuck they're talking about and have been risking their lives like for years, and try to help Canadians, because like he doesn't want to have the same legacy that Justin Trudeau has. Like Pierre Poilievre has a chance at this point to turn it around because he hasn't done enough damage, and he's not even a leader yet, right? Like he hasn't done enough damage to that can't be turned around. Justin Trudeau has, and Justin Trudeau knows that as soon as he steps down, like he's not going to be protected, you know, and he's going to get arrested. He's going to get jail for so many different things he's done, right? And that's why he's had people like Vern flee Canada. That was like, he was heavily like responsible for the Arrive scam app. And this like guy, like remember, he was a member of parliament and a lobbyist and stuff like that. He fled to Finland. I just shared that. The real Andy Lee reported that as well. So he doesn't have to be held accountable. And so I'm saying like this guy needs to be court ordered to come back to Canada. Must be nice to go to Finland where they're not as fucked here. Like you got to fuck our country up, and then you get to go again like as a fucking coward beta. After destroying our country directly, you get to flee to Finland. Must be nice. While I get to stay here and deal with your fucking mess. Another man doing this. Another elitist, entitled man doing this. I'm just throwing that out there.
And I said in, I think, my last video with the Elvis Presley, the death of Elvis Presley video, that I was going to make this post and video. So here we go. And just to start off by saying, credit is due.
I also know that Doug Ford, like what he's calling his post-secondary education system, it was actually in 2018 changed from a high school education system to a post-secondary education system, and then lying to people about even having a post-secondary degree. Like Doug Ford is not qualified. He has a high school fucking degree. And the thing is, the thing that bothers me is not only are they not certified or qualified, nor do they even do it when they're in their tenureship. Like, do they even try to get qualified to do their job? They lie about it. They lie about it. And so how the fuck is he still our premier? And when he has his fixers and stuff like that, doing like the little like Illuminati, Freemason fucking skull and bones hand signals and stuff like that. They're making a mockery of us. They're making a joke of all of this stuff. And so like I already got fired up.
To Bryson Bell for his 201 list. It helped me create like half of this post. So shout out to him. I'll put some links to his social medias and his content in the description and probably the comment section. But without further ado, let's just get into it. So during the Jesuit suppression, Catherine the Great of Russia saved 201 Jesuits. But anyways, early in her life, Catherine the Great converted to Eastern Orthodoxy, and the term Eastern Orthodox equals 201. Pope Francis is the first Jesuit pope, and his real name is Jorge Mario Bergoglio, and that name equals 201. Pope Francis lives in the Vatican guest house, which is officially called the Domus Sanctae Martyr, and that name equals 201. And in that Vatican guest house, he lives on the second floor in suite 201. I mean, come on. He lives in the Domus Sanctae Martyr, which equals 201, and in that building, he lives in room 201. I mean, come on. And he is, as he is a Jesuit pope, he's head of the Catholic Church. He's a Catholic pope, and the term Catholic pope equals 201. Term Jesuit order equals 201. and the Jesuit order was founded by Ignatius of Loyola, and his name equals 201. And there was a pandemic simulation called Event 201, and why it was called that is because there was, supposedly approximately 201 epidemic events, and experts were saying we were coming up on the 201st.
And also, Patty Hajdu, I gave the cabinet records where they have email correspondence via like the cabinet email. You can get this access to this online yourself. This is because they're government employees, they're public servants. Like we are entitled to see the work that they're doing and the emails that they're sharing. Patty Hajdu, who's still fucking with our lives. Her first email about the pandemic was about how 102 countries coming together for this pandemic response. Patty Hajdu was in on this too. This is what I mean. Like, this is not a fucking an accident. So like when that's your first email within cabinet, within the official correspondence, and there's so much that we're not seeing, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm just saying, like, that's not, how is that a coincidence? So how is she not in jail yet? How is she not investigated yet or fired yet? Like, how do people not see this?
So they had this pandemic simulation event called Event 201. And of course, yes, this was predictive programming for the coronavirus pandemic, the plandemic.
Yep.
And anyways, so Bill Gates was like, one of the well-known people at this event. And he was a part of it and whatnot. And his full name, William Henry Gates, equals 201. And he is a philanthropist, and the term philanthropist equals 201. And
so again, like, this is just not to take this stuff at face value. I subscribe to this. Again, this is like 15 something like a month for this subscription. I pay so much to get content out to you, even with using a VPN, a secure VPN, so that I can connect to different countries, different IP addresses, using the StreamYard services and stuff like that. So I hope that this continues. Sorry, I hope this gets me to get my contracts back that I used to have. William Henry Gates, 201. And you've got the reverse reduction, the 9669. 1984 brainwashing friggin' book. Interesting. On with this show again. Oh no. I don't even know where I left off. Sorry about that.
And then I looked at his stuff recently, and his full name, Neil Alden Armstrong, equals 201. I mean, come on, guys. What are the chances? They're scripting this stuff. It's so obvious. You got Neil Alden Armstrong equals 201, and he, steps on the moon on the 201st day of the year. I mean, come on. But anyways, in the Catholic Church, the main service is called Mass, and the term Catholic Mass equals 201, and has the Freemasons and the Illuminati stem from the Jesuits. So they're like, they're basically like, they're not as powerful as the Jesuits, but they get orders from the Jesuits, if that makes sense. Both terms, the Freemasonic Order and Order of Illuminati, both terms equal 201. And
hey, I'm gonna annoy you again. I'm gonna stop the screen this time so that it doesn't start over. But even with Neil Alden Armstrong, I'm just gonna show you. Ordinal, you gotta verify this stuff for yourself as well. Also, the reduction 84. It's just like, again, like the book 1984. Neil 201 right there. Can't make this stuff up. I would never make this stuff up. I'm so upset. Honestly, it's soul crushing that there's people that are lying about this stuff, and they love, and the fact that they are getting off on the lies like really annoys me.
Brazil, a statue of Jesus Christ was lit up with the words "vaccine save."
My email is dawn189@protonmail.com. So it's DAWN189@protonmail.com. I'm gonna try to get back to people better now, because there's people that I still haven't got back to yet in emails. I'm not gonna lie, and it stresses me out. I've just been traveling a lot, and there's been a lot of errands and stuff like that, and I'm alone doing everything. I'm a one person friggin' show with literally everything, like this stuff with with all the other responsibilities of life. And so and then I was traveling a lot because I've had a lot of family emergencies outside of province in the last couple of months, and I don't suspect that that's going to stop at any point, unfortunately, with the people still in charge that are destroying us. Okay. Yeah.
Saves on it, and vaccine saves equals 201. They're not as powerful as the
Vaccine
Jesuits,
saves,
but they get orders from the Jesuits, if that makes sense. Both terms, the Freemasonic Order and Order of Illuminati, both terms equal 201. And the
vaccine saves is 201.
term Central Intelligence Agency, United States of America equals 201. And, that just connecting our government, connecting us to it, to the 201 rituals, Jesuits control us. I mean, it's not a surprise. In Mexico and plenty of other countries that I gotta, find concrete evidence on, but we'll do that in the future. But anyways, the term inauguration of the President of the United States equals 201 as well. And I knew that one actually, but he did. I forgot about it and it refreshed.
Inauguration is not 201. I'm not seeing it unless he's talking about a different numbering system, coding system. Because inauguration, unless I'm spelling it wrong, INAUGURATION. You've got the 150 for the ordinal, 60 reduction, 174 reverse reduction 75. So I don't see that. And even United States of America, that wasn't 201 either. So again, there's a lot of 201s. And so like this is why like I also I'm watching this with you. I like to verify because we don't have to add in things.
My memory, seeing that in his list.
201. Oh yeah, he's running it down here anyways, but maybe Central Intelligence Agency, United States of America. Maybe that's what he meant. Anyway.
This, so yeah, inauguration of the President of the United States equals 201, and that day, the date that happens, the date that the president gets inaugurated is on January 1st, which can be written.
The sun is reverse ordinal. It's 201. He's right.
20/1, like 201. Yeah, so you see the ritual there. Mm-hmm. And in most parts of the world, it is written 20.
The Holy Bible. The Holy Bible in reverse ordinal gematria is 201.
/1, and I believe specifically in European countries and stuff like that, I think over there the Eastern, over there in the Eastern Hemisphere, I believe they mostly over there it's written the date that date January 20th is written 20/1.
And presidential inaugurations, it's always around like January 20th as well. Like this is another thing with the 201, with the 102, how you can subtly show it to people within your group and make it where you think that you are tricking or deceiving other people. You're like, oh yeah, like we're gonna hide it by. Anyway, we're not that dumb,
if I'm not mistaken. But
I think we're so dumb.
Anyways, so Gonzaga University is a Jesuit university. and is named after a guy named Aloysius de Gonzaga, and that name equals 201. Of the sun on it, the off is what I'm trying to say. But anyways, so and as the Jesuits script all these things, as all this that I've presented here is one big script, and some might say it's a coincidence, or some might
No way. No way that it is a coincidence. Before I even get into more 201, I'm just going to mix it up a little bit. I've been up since really early again, like always, and I had a lot of coffee, if you haven't noticed. Fletcher Prouty explains invention and use of term fossil fuels, because we're talking about carbon stuff, and this is also something that I've shared with Stephen Guilbeault, the climate psychopath, and every single freaking member of cabinet and experts and news media outlets and etc., and they still don't want to look at it. And so if you take this video, search for it yourself. Fletcher Prouty explains invention and use of term fossil fuels, and it's from the Auto Channel. 51,000 subscribers. Share this with your local municipal leaders, your district leaders, your mayors. Share this with your propane companies, your heating companies. Share this with the oil companies, because this is the only way they're going to stop fucking with us. Okay, and the more people stand up and speak out, less people get murdered for speaking out. And we need to be protected more. People that are sharing the truth, we need to start having cops protect us. That'd be a nice change right now in Canada. And if you're protecting me, like you have to be single, attractive, you have to be shirtless when you're around, like just providing security around my house and stuff like that, and checkpoints and aerial surveillance and stuff like that as well. Like you have to be
one of your last talks
super attractive.
that petroleum, it wasn't what we thought it was, that it wasn't a fossil fuel, that it didn't come from fossil animal.
Yeah.
Is it just a mineral? Is it a mineral like?
Oh, okay. So there you go. Inauguration of the president.
Is that how it? What would you say? How did it? What's the origin of?
You see, when they first found petroleum, because they were beginning to make motors and needed on axles of wheels on railroad trains and all that sort of thing. And remember, trains started in the beginning of the 19th century. Then oil went from just a lubricant to a fuel. And
inauguration of the president. It's 314 ordinal, 134 reduction, 388 reverse, and reverse reductions 145. Again, like the majority, like 99% of them were correct. And I could be missing something with that as well, but like the 201 is a huge significant number. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like I subscribed to him, I liked his video, and he probably has other great videos that I'm definitely going to watch.
It made it valuable. And Rockefeller happened to be the smartest man in the business at the time, but he made most of his money, or much of it, off the transport of the petroleum.
Rockefeller wasn't the smartest man at the time. He was just the richest.
As well as selling it. But one thing they realized was, because oil is putting a price on oil is like putting a price on a pail of water. There's
yes.
no initial
yes.
cost. It's in the ground. And in those days, some of it almost what you'd call surface mining the oil. They didn't go down deep.
And single.
So in order to get the price up, they hit on the idea that they would have to make it appear to be scarce. That after we take the next few barrels out, we're probably going to have to close as well. That kind of thing. But a very fortuitous event. In 1892, there was a convention in Geneva of scientists to determine what organic substances are. Well, the definition of organic is a substance with hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. And so it's usually a living substance, a tree. You analyze a dead tree, hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen, and grass, and so on, living things. Animals, we are hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. So at this Geneva Convention, Rockefeller took advantage of sending some scientists over who said, petroleum is hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. Therefore, it must be derived from the spoiling, the rotting of formerly living matter. And playing the game properly, when this scientific convention was over, they defined oil as the residue from formerly living matter. Well, that makes it a fossil fuel. I don't know why they decided to use the word fossil, but it says formerly living matter, it's fossil. Well, of course, today, and another thing we should know is that there has never been a fossil, a real fossil found below 16,000 feet. And you can't argue at 16,000 as a level line because someplace the ground sinks and so on. But 16 is what the scientists say, 16,000. We mine oil, or we drill for oil at 30,000, 33,000, 28,000 every day of the week. So right there, we rule it out that it isn't fossil fuel. It's called fossil fuel for the minds of the public to feel that it is an asset that is running out, being depleted. We talk about depletion allowance, which is a lot of, and actually, if you know the world's oil supply, you know that it is not going to run out for an awfully long time. It is the second most prevalent liquid on Earth.
Excuse me. Second most abundant.
And we haven't begun to dig. Well, with all that.
And I believe that the petroleum is possibly it's from trees, from tree roots, like the sap, whatever you want to call it, the dead tree roots, whatever you want to call it, like within the ground. This is why we also need to stop shredding trees and allow them to thrive in their environments again. We're going to have to use the elements again to allow them to recover and heal, because apparently even petrified tree stumps and stuff like that, when you put copper around it, fully enclose the circle, it can't be an open circuit or whatever you want to call it. It has to be enclosed, and then connected to the ground. And the stump, like it's like there's regenerative properties and processes that are taking place, and so we need to be more aware of this. Like even with using electricity and magnetism for gardens, like with grounding, like to the earth, and using copper and stuff like that, like around like gardens. They're the fruits and vegetables that are being harvested are significantly larger, and they're being grown significantly faster using the environment. And so very interesting. We're not needing to push or inject things into the soil, into the food sources, or in the animals. Like we don't have to do it, like with all this bullshit they're giving us. There's other ways.
That background, you see, the people in charge of the petroleum business, for perfectly reasonable business things, like any other man in the business, wants to keep his price as high as he can get away with. And the way to do is just say, well, as no more, we the last barrel is going to cost $1,000, and then it's all done. And they preach that stuff. What bothers me is that in geology books, it's in there. The geologists say it's a fossil fuel. They've been bought. I mean, I went to a 4-year federal staff.
It's in all the schools now. It's not even just at the university level. It's in preschool. It's at elementary school level. It's in all the friggin' social media platforms that people are looking at.
Energy seminar run by the government of the United States during the so-called energy crisis. I was the participant that represented the railroad industry. The airline industry was there. Every AA, administrative assistant of senators and congressmen, was there. The CIA was there. The Defense Department was there. The State Department was there. Sometimes sitting right in front of me in the row would be Henry Kissinger with his friend, the head of Department of Defense. It's too bad I can't put the names with them. But anyway, people like that, top men in the government, sitting there listening to the federal staff energy seminar. Well, what this was doing is for 4 years, they were teaching a propaganda line to the leading people in this country, and therefore to the leading people in the world, when you include the Kissinger and Schlesinger, among others. And the object of it was, as Kissinger used in his own terms when it was time for him to speak, to create a world price for oil. In other words, not 30 cents a gallon here and 90 cents a gallon there, but let's get a world price. That's their goal. And they're trying to do that for wheat and everything else. We don't realize what the controls are, whether it's oil or some of these other things. Almost everything today is being categorized at the highest price they can possibly make it go. And so calling petroleum a fossil fuel is the basis for this system with respect to petroleum. And I don't know if the name Arthur Kantrowitz rings any bell. Arthur Kantrowitz is the head of the Kantrowitz Labs, set up by the Avco company near Boston, Scientific Laboratories, and a great man in the scientific world. And Kantrowitz and I were sitting at a table at this seminar once, and the table happened to be all young college grad, PhD geologists. And so just to get a conversation started, I turned to Kantrowitz and I said, Arthur, what do you think about this foolishness of these speakers talking about fossil fuel? And it was kind of put up. He started laughing. He said, that gets me. He says, I don't have a geology degree, but he had 1,000 other degrees. And he said, I don't understand. He said, you'd think that these heads, these other fellows at the table, we did it on purpose, start listening, And he asked, he said, are you gentlemen? He says, you're here at the meeting. Are you gentlemen by any chance geologists? And one fellow, yes, I am. And the other, yeah. He said, well, why don't you tell me? He said, why is oil? And he went on like that. We brought the house down because nobody could argue with Kantrowitz. He like Einstein. People aren't going to. And he told them right there. He said, just drop it. But it's in all the books and in all the papers. But it started from that strange meeting in 1892, a scientific convention. I have a big, thick scientific encyclopedia put out by the Divan Ostrin Company that's about 15 years old now, but it has the whole story of the conference. It doesn't have the Rockefeller part, but it has the whole story of how they straightened out organic chemicals and how it was all figured, and they've got petroleum right in there.
Amazing. So
these aren't accidental things, you see. There's a dollar sign behind almost everything.
Yep. It's the new religion. Okay, now on to one of the greats. I was saving the best for last. I shouldn't say it like that. Oh, I thought you could see my my mug. So this is Zachary Hubbard, Gematria News Effect 25 now. He has been shadow banned, censored, accounts deleted repeatedly, and he is unfortunately not a flat earther yet. I say yet. I've tried planting seeds. I've called in the show. I've talked about the sun's travel path and stuff like that, through the constellation, so through the zodiacal belt, and added in the north latitude, south latitude limitations in its travel, and so maybe he's open to having a conversation about it. If he doesn't want to do it live, that's fair. He's friggin' smart though, and I think that if he gets onto the flat Earth stuff on his Wake the Fuck Up radio station, whatever you want to call it, then he'll get a lot more viewers again, and he'll be back in the community of truthers. A lot more fun, and then he can go to Anacapulco, and then he could friggin' hang out. That's what I want to do this year as well, because I've been isolated. Well, first of all, it was legally mandated on me for 2 friggin' years. I'm not even kidding. Where I actually was slated to go to Australia and Iceland, bucket lists, and both canceled on me because of the pandemic, which really pissed me off. And I didn't get my money back or anything, or vouchers, none of that stuff. For Australia, for Iceland, I got my money back because they canceled on me. It was so frustrating. And since then, I have not been out of the country. Also because of what I've been sharing, makes me afraid for my life sometimes. Anyway. Here he is. 201. I don't know how long I'll let this play out because it's almost 2 hours long. And I haven't watched this one yet either.
All right. Welcome back, Truth Seeker. So a lot of people have been asking. Shout out to 208 Productions, including him.
I hope so.
Is it true that your new house number is 201? And
I hope so.
It is true. And it is a very weird story.
Because I've also commented on his on his page as well about a 201. I'm like, bro, 201. You talk about it being like part of this friggin' like all the hoaxes and false flags and stuff like that. Yet and you're talking about like that 201 with NASA and all this stuff, but you're not making the connection that they're lying about the shape of the Earth and space and the friggin' moon landings. Like, you're not making that connection, but you're making all the other ones. And you make fun of QAnon people and you make fun of religious people. Zachary, come on. Wake up.
But I want to tell it from the beginning.
Sorry,
and
I'm yelling again.
Again, the number 201. I was in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I was down there to educate about all of the people who had died in New Orleans for LSU's rigged championship over Clemson. And as you recall, I went down there. I had signs made. You know, some of the truth seekers came out and pounded pavement. Shout out to Jeremy White. But when I got into New Orleans, first I stayed in Baton Rouge by LSU, and then for the second part of the trip, I went down to New Orleans, and I stayed at the Treme, I think is what the hotel was called. And they only had one room available, and it happened to be room number 201. And when I checked into room 201, it didn't dawn on me what the relevance of 201 was. I had a few documentations in my history of researching and understanding the meaning of numbers in the Kabbalistic sense, but I really didn't have any significance to this number 201. But what weirded me out is minutes after checking into room 201, I just drove down from Baton Rouge back to New Orleans. I just checked in, and within minutes of getting into the room, I started getting a bunch of text messages from somebody I didn't know who got my number, which actually happens a lot, people getting my number because my number's out there and then people pass it along. But I started getting a bunch of text messages from somebody I didn't know telling me how much I needed to research Event 201. This is January of 2020 that this is happening. And I was just creeped out. I was like, okay, what is Event 201? I just checked into hotel room number 201. Who is this person? Are they watching me? There another thing that was on my mind that was kind of weirding me out at the time is there was one man who had come out to the LSU campus where I'd been the days prior, and he was really trying to get me to come over to his house that night before I drove down to New Orleans. And, you know, he's probably still out there watching if he is, but one part of him seemed all right, but then another part of him was really off. And he acted like he cared about the work. But something he did that night right before he asked me to come over was he started referring to the black people there by the N-word.
Oh, my
goodness. And I was like, okay, if you know me, you know I stick.
Oh, my goodness.
I couldn't make sense of the guy. The guy also made a big point that he was Jewish. And he wanted me to come over to his house and smoke weed with him, which is illegal in Louisiana. And I just didn't trust the guy. And I also, you know, had he not started referring to black people as the N-word, I probably would have done it. But then I was like, no. So that kind of weirded me out too, right before I drove down to New Orleans. But anyway, as soon as I get into hotel room number 201, just within minutes, you guys, I wouldn't even say 5 minutes passed. All of a sudden, just all these text messages flooded in about how bad I needed to research Event 201. So I had this creeped out feeling. I was like, what is going on? And so anyway, I researched Event 201 and I started looking into it, and I was like, okay, a Jesuit put it on. Is there a significance to 201? I was like, wait a minute, Pope. I started to realize that Ignatius of Loyola was 201. The Pope's name was 201. Catherine the Great saving the Jesuit order with 201. I was like, this number seems to be important to the Jesuits. And I think it was a coincidence that I got checked into room number 201. And it does, well, I mean, you could also say there's no such thing as a coincidence. I think it was a meaningful coincidence, a synchronicity, if you will, that I ended up getting checked into room number 201 and the timing of the text messages. I don't think somebody was actually following me and stalking me. I don't think a ritual was performed. I think it's just the way it happened. And when I started looking at 201, I realized how important the number was. And then it made me go back and I was like, look at this archived post that ESPN had, the road to 201 for Tom Brady. Again, if you look that up, the ESPN article's there, the road to 201 wins. I documented that years ago, but it hadn't really dawned on me outside of he got the 201st win against the Rams. And of course, Rams and Jewish gematria is 201. I mean, I document all that back then. But then just started to make me realize, like, wow, Tom Brady's married to somebody born on the 201st day of the year. Well, now they're divorced. Tom Brady was born 201 years after the country was born. Tom Brady got his first career NFL win against the only 201 city in America, Indianapolis. So I just started to realize, like, 201 was way bigger than I had recognized before staying in hotel room number 201 and getting that text message, and then finding out that there was something called Event 201, which was the coronavirus pandemic simulation, the day the military world games began in Wuhan, China, 1 month before the outbreak in Wuhan. And again, it was put on by the Jesuit Klaus Schwab, and the military world games are also accredited to the Jesuit order. So it was up until that point in the research, from 2013 to 2020, I realized I'd been making a big omission, but not seeing how important this 201 number is. And what
I also wanted to just share with you. I put on a foam. It's supposed to be all natural products, but like a foam, like a spray tan this morning. I'm not gonna lie, and you have to wait for it to set for a few hours and dry and stuff like that before you wash it off. So if I look crazy, friggin' whatever, I'm gonna have to shower again later, like once it dries more, and it'll look less crazy. It's because I'm friggin' pale these days. Like I try to get as much sun as I can, but it's been winter now for friggin' months in Canada, and it's just impossible. So I hope I blow your mind. First, I'll go into this first. This is for what are HTTP status codes? HTTP status codes are 3-digit responses from the server to the browser side request. Let's talk about the internet. As a means of communication between the server and the internet browser, and there are multiple code classes based on the type of information they are communicating. So if you just go down the codes, how many are there? 63, I think. Don't quote me on that. Or maybe there's 67. Let's see here. Anyway, 201. Created. That's what that means. 102 is switching protocols. That's 101 is switching protocols. 102 is processing. (202) accepted. Created, accepted. That's not where I'm going. That's just, I just want to show you that because I thought it was interesting. 201 means created. So area codes 201 and 551. They're trying to make the significance of 201 less significant by adding in another number, but area codes 201 and 551 are telephone area codes in the North American numbering plan in the United States of New Jersey. Area code 201 was the area code assigned to the entire state of New Jersey in 1947 when the North American area code system was formed. So even our numbering systems for our phones, like the area codes and our phone numbers, ladies and gentlemen, this all stemmed from the number 201 out of New Jersey in the 1940s. What happened in 1947? Like wasn't that just like a post-war time when there was like mass immigration of certain groups to areas they were very wealthy and influential and ended up being like heads of banking systems and education systems and foundations and corporations and stuff like that. And like, I want just so weird, right? And so again, with the 201 history, area code 201 was the first assigned numbering plan area code of the original 86 area codes when the American Telephone and Telegraph Company, AT&T, devised the nationwide numbering plan in 1947. It was also the first area code with direct distance dialing service. When in 1951, the first direct dialed long distance call was made from Inglewood, New Jersey to Alameda, California. And Canada's got a connection too with Alexander Bell and the communication from Newfoundland. Yeah, it's bullshit. They've been lying to us for so long. For over 30 years, area code 201 served Bergen, Hudson, Ocean, Essex, Union Morris, Passaic, Hunterdon, Somerset. Anyway, just very interesting. Back to Mr. Zachary Hubbard. And then look at routes, look at highways, look at building numbers.
Wuhan, China, 1 month before the outbreak in Wuhan. And again, it was put on by the Jesuit Klaus Schwab, and the military world games are also accredited to the Jesuit order. So it was
that's interesting.
Up until that point in the research, from 2013 to 2020, I realized I'd been making a big omission, but not seeing how important this 201 number is and why the first Jesuit pope was.
So 201 is like creating things, and then like 202, like, okay, so like we're gonna process it now.
201. It's like all the stuff had been documented, but the pieces hadn't been connected yet. So anyhow, you guys might recall at the beginning of this year, February 7th, you had the mass shooting in Pasco, Washington, which was about an hour and a half from where I was living in Yakima. And we noticed it was 201 days after the anniversary of the death of the Kroger founder. It was at a Kroger store where that mass shooting was. Remember, it's on the 38th day of the year, and initially they reported that a 38-year-old killed a 38-year-old on the 38th day of the year. And then they changed it to a 39-year-old killed a 38-year-old on the 39th day of the year. But the Kroger founder died on my birthday, which I didn't realize until that happened. So that meant that the shooting that was near me that I went and documented was 201 days after my birthday as well. And now I've moved since then, and now I live very close to that Kroger where the shooting happened 201 days after my birthday. And now I live in house number 201. And again, it was slim pickings for houses in this community. Sweet lady got a job. So, all right, let's rewind to how it happened that I ended up moving, because I did not see myself moving when I left to drive across the country for the New York 9/11 anniversary, where we drove all across the nation and met with people and taught about 201 all along the way. Not to mention we went out to Oklahoma City earlier this year and taught all about 201. So I've been spending a lot of my time teaching about 201 lately. And again, in New York, I stayed right across the river from where the World Trade Center is in the cheapest area in town, which happens to be New Jersey, the 201 area code, which is where the majority of the pharmaceutical companies are headquartered in the nation, in the 201 area code. Doesn't it make so much sense when they have the Event 201 simulation? But, we're in New York, we're pounding pavement, we're teaching about 201 on the megaphone, on the speaker setup. Shout out to Lincoln Karam with the mic. All over the city, we're educating about this number and the ritual and why 2 towers became 0 before they became 1. All this stuff. But then, sweet lady, her first day, now that she finished school.
I got to correct him on that too. 2 towers that turned into 1 tower turned into 1. You've got the 120, but he forgot that building 7 also went down. So you've also got the 7. So you've got the 2701. Or the 1207, or the however you want to break out the numbers, you've got those 4 digits in it. So also a 7 with 9/11, with the 127 towers going down, then called ground 0. This is also in plain sight to me. Is it just another coincidence? Is it just another coincidence?
And again, for people who don't know, sweet lady,
No.
When I met her, her plan was to go to school and then enter into the medical field. And initially she wanted to be a dentist, and then she decided she wanted to be a pharmacist. So sweet lady just finished school, finished her exams, and she started her first day as a pharmacist while I was on the New York trip on September 12th. And she was supposed to be working where we lived in Yakima, Washington, at the same place she had her internship. But they have another location out here where we moved to. And they told her that if she went and worked at that location, which is out here where nobody really wants to live, then they'd give her a pay raise. And the problem was, it's 50 miles each direction, so she'd be driving a 100-mile round trip each day, and she doesn't like driving. So anyway, we end up moving out here, right? And we moved to this small town, and there's only so many homes that are available. Only 6,000 people live in this town. And the only home that she liked in the town was at the address number 201. And there was one other house that was at the address 217, funny enough, like my birthday, 217. And if it was my choice, that's where we would have moved to. I mean, it could have been my choice. I could have said, well, we're doing it anyway. That's where I want to live. But that home was not in a neighborhood and it was on acreage. And she said, based on what's happened, that could be a more dangerous place to live because it's isolated, which I was like, well, that's a fair point. She's like, if somebody wanted to come kill you in the night, this would be the perfect place to do it. I said, but technically they want to do it anywhere, they could do it. But anyway, she felt safer here and she liked this house better at 201. But I just really started thinking, I was like, man, she ended up going into the pharmacy industry, which you could argue is the 201 industry. Again, they're putting on the big simulation. They're headquartered in the 201 area code. That is where I was staying for the New York trip, not for anything ritualistic, but because that's the hood there. It's also the hood where the 201 area code is. It's the cheapest place to stay around. That's why I stayed there, because it was pennies on the dollar compared to everyone else. You could stay there for, I think my place was like $80 a night. I could have stayed in New York across the river and paid $400 a night. I'd rather just pay $80 a night. So anyway, was in the 201. Have to rush back because she's now in the pharmacy world and this offer got sprung on her. She wants to move. We end up in house number 201. And then again, we're close to where the mass shooting happened at the beginning of the year. That was 201 days after my birthday. And, I just started thinking about it all. And I'm just like, I mean, I've talked about this before it even happened, right? Just how you really focus on a number. Like, again, it could be the number 45. It's a 45 date numerology. Everything in the news is 45. I'm writing about 45 all day. And then Sweet Lay's like, hey, can we get some takeout from my favorite Thai restaurant? For the record, Sweet Lay and I probably eat out once to twice a month, I would say. We eat almost all of our meals at home. But, I'll go out and I'll get the next destinations to head down to Philly, D.C., Georgia. I mean, that was still the plan. But then Sweet Lady, it was that day. I remember now life. And I'm still trying to figure out what the meaning of all of it is. But it's unmistakable that there's something, like a ongoing story, a journey to it, just the way it happened. Being in hotel room number 201, when it comes on the map, the number, it never dawned on me that there was such significance to the number. And to make a point, when I first got into Louisiana, again, I didn't stay in New Orleans first. I wasn't in room 201 first. I was in Baton Rouge. I was at the Red Roof Inn, right off the interstate where you get off to go to the LSU campus. And I got into Louisiana really late. My flight was delayed. I had to get off. I had to rent the car. I had to drive an hour from New Orleans up to Baton Rouge. And I was tired. And I still remember the way that went, too. I ended up not even sleeping that night. When I was checking in at the Red Roof Inn, the guy at the front desk gives me the key. And the key was number 131, right? And I laughed. And I said, I can't believe it. Room 131. He goes, why can't you believe it? I said, oh, you don't want to know. He goes, no, I do want to know. Why would you say you can't believe you got room 131? I said, well,
I would want to know.
I said, I came down here to teach the LSU campus and people in the community about some.
Oh. What just happened? What is he doing? What just happened? I'm just gonna try to wait to see if he actually explains himself.
Just in case you guys still see me online, it says we're cut off and disconnected. So I'm trying to make sure that we are connected. Hours in the middle of the night talking to this guy, pretty much telling him all the reasons I was coming down there, and he found it very interesting. But I do also remember that when I went to my room, I couldn't figure out how to turn off the heater. They had the heat on at like 85 degrees in there. And I didn't even sleep at all. I just ended up like taking a shower and then eating some breakfast and then went over to the LSU campus. It was just like the New York trip. It was like there was no time to sleep. But it is good to get a night's sleep. Good night's sleep. But when I'm doing these presentations, I always run on adrenaline, and it's nice being out there. So I ended up feeling not too bad. But And I remember the thing that blew me away is just how friendly people were. And I remember it does boggle my mind how it's all played out. I could have never imagined that I'd end up living in house number 201. And yeah, shout out to the father-son combo. By the way, the son was in the All-Star game, but I was telling him that story. It ended up being the monster Jesuit ritual, the country that she was from. And then what blew my mind even more is then after that, I realized that I always knew that she had the same birthday as George Orwell, but I never realized that George Orwell's first book was Burmese Days. Burmese Days is George Orwell's book, his first book. And Sweet Lady's got George Orwell's birthday, which is June 25th. And then I got Ernest Hemingway's birthday. And my mom was born on the day.
I have Albert Pike's birthday, and I have Goodyear and presidents and you name it.
That Ernest Hemingway published the book The Fisherman in the Sea, which is also kind of interesting. And but yeah, I just look at all this now. And again, Sweet Lady. I would have never, I don't think I would have figured out gematria when I did if it wasn't for Sweet Lady. Her and I had been together for about a year before I figured out this research. And in that year, she had gotten me to start reading the Bible again. She really wanted me to start reading the Bible. And it just reminded me that it was a book full of numbers. And of course, the Holy Bible equals 201, right? The Holy Bible 201.
Yeah.
And
and another fun fact, because like with the 9/11, in some circles, le numéro 7, the number 7, is sept in French, and even in Latin and other languages like September. Again, it could be possibly it's anyway. It's correlated with the number 7. So then on September 11th, it could also be seen as 7/11 in a lot of groups. And if you look at numbering systems and routes in the U.S. and Canada, like Follow the Yellow Brick Road type stuff, you'll see that as well in 66. Oh, I was going to say something else. I got so distracted with my friggin' cat. I had another thing I was going to say. Oh yeah, and so like in my last name, Dussault, in gematria is 117. And there's also like a major highway that connects like Route 66 to 117 in Quebec, from like Ontario to Quebec, and it passes through like the Great Lakes and stuff like that, and into Chicago all the way to Santa Fe. And then even with the bricks, like the yellow bricks on highways, right? That's the Follow the Yellow Brick Road with Alice in Wonderland. And the person that wrote that book was also a pedophile, a known one, and he was friends with the person that made the roads, and that was responsible for the roads. I've shared that in previous videos, and their connections and the groups that they belong to, and how this was North America wide. And I'm the only one that's still talking about this stuff. So even like with Zachary, like he has so much good information, but like I think that if we did some kind of like a friggin' co-hosted show, Canada versus the US, you know what I mean? Like, well, not against each other, then it would be interesting.
Again, I was looking for the answer at that same period of time. Like, what's going on with the numbers in the news? What's up with the number rituals? Sandy Hook had really bothered me because, again, they had to report that Adam Lanza weighed 112 pounds, and it just... Yeah, so, again, reading the Bible, which was, like, something that she wanted me to do, put in my mind... Okay, yeah, there is something more to numbers. There's a reason that these numbers...
That's what I wanted to say. And with the Bible, it was allegedly the King James version of the Bible was created or established in 1611. And so 6 + 1 is 7. And then you've got the 7-Eleven with that as well. And then you've got the, what do you have in the US with the convenience stores? Like a major friggin' chain of convenience stores is the 7-Elevens. And look who owns 7-Elevens. The running joke.
All over the Bible, but they're not explained. And people should ask that. Why is the Bible full of numbers that are not explained, but they're put in there like they're important details? And it's just like the news does it the same way. They make sure to emphasize a number throughout a story, but it's like, why is that number so important? And it starts to make sense, right? All of these words have the same gematria encoding. It's like the numbers of the cabal, the authority that are ruling over us, giving us the book to give us the spirituality they want us to believe in. The history story that they want us to believe in. They're all stories, you know? But, yeah, sweet lady's been a very key piece of the journey. And then also just about like her attitude about things, just like being a skeptic so much, or just like argumentative, or trying to come up with some other explanation. That's also kind of been motivational to me. And I think, you know, she still has to be stubborn, but she definitely sees the rigged part of the game. And then the other thing that's cool about it is I was not happy when Sweet Lady decided to become a pharmacist, because I told her, I said, you know, it's the most evil industry there is. And she agrees. She now sees how evil it is. She didn't understand how evil it was until all of this happened. But I'm glad that she's a pharmacist now, in the sense that she does what every pharmacist should do. She's constantly telling people, when they come to the pharmacy and ask for suggestions, how to take care of themselves without drugs. She says, like, the drug should be your last resort. She's like, if that's your problem, if you guys missed my coverage last year when I was at the Kroger shooting, which happened to be 201 days after my own birthday and in my own backyard.
Jesus.
Oh, actually, hold on. Before I even go to that point, the other thing that's really weird is where Sweet Lady works, which is Sunnyside, Washington. The school district there is District 201. So I see the school buses driving by all the time that are District 201. I'm like, God, this is weird, man. We're living in house number 201. She's working where school district number 201 is. You know, my latest education, again, I have 2 different degrees. My undergrad's accounting, and then my master's is in education, and I've taught. But yeah, where her work is school district 201, living in house number 201. Speaking of it being connected to the Jesuits, the big Jesuit day, November 5th, we had the craziest windstorm after we moved here, probably the worst windstorm I've ever seen in my life. I see the super chat. I'm going to come back to Steve's question here in a second. But before I answer Steve's question, just going back to the shooting that I went to last year and was doing the live stream at, that of course YouTube censored. They took it down for medical misinformation. Isn't that hilarious? Like, they've taken down so many videos for. But I got that cop, Commander Lee. He was the guy being quoted in all the national news stories about the shooting. I got him on camera to admit that he never got to go inside the store himself. He had not seen the shooting with his own eyes, and the federal government was completely in control of the scene. Only the feds were allowed inside the building. The city police had to stay outside. I got him to admit that on camera. So, I mean, really, in all the things I've documented, that was really some of the most powerful documentation I've ever gotten. And that video is up on BitChute if you guys want to watch it. On my BitChute channel, if you search Zachary K. Hubbard or Gematria Effect News, it'll come up. But yeah, if you guys have not watched that, Commander Lee, the guy quoted in all the news for supposedly what happened in the shooting, he admitted on camera that he was not even allowed to go in the building. He had not seen anything with his own eyes. And just like the news people, they were all reading from their cell phones. So, and he also acknowledged that he understood why I was questioning everything. He kept saying, like, I totally get why you're doing what you're doing. It was almost like I did write him a nice long email and send him digital copies of my ebooks, and he never responded to me for that.
See?
Probably because if you could talk to me, he'd say,
oh my God, Zachary, I've done that too. Like, I have talked to law enforcement people of varying backgrounds and stuff like that. Like even just like on a dog walk, just like randomly they were there, like strangely enough, anyway, all these coincidences I can talk about, but where I invested so much time and energy, like emailed them, gave them links, explained the data, nothing back. No follow-up, no nothing. But they'll go after people and harass people because they vote a certain way. Like, you know.
Hey, listen, that's how I pay for my job. Everybody's just doing their job. But he'd probably say, listen, I can't go on about this because I got a family to feed. You know? And I remember I looked a little bit into Commander Lee. He'd been working there since 2001 after just getting out of the military at that time. I thought, what an interesting time. Wonder if he could have got put into some kind of psychological operations unit. But yeah, 201. It's been a building, very interesting number in my life since Louisiana. And then you think about Louisiana too.
Mine too.
That's the French. I now have permission to retaliate. So again, that's not the way. And Kabbalah and putting this evil touch on so many things that are so important to people. I mean, really, you look at America. This is maddening. It says I'm disconnected again.
Sorry, I'm trying to get to where he says, "Our numbers, the languages of God, are numbers meant to guide us." I guess he is talking about that.
All right, so Steve has another question. Do you believe the Earth is flat, not a round ball?
Before he even this was over a year ago. I know he hates flat earthers. Like even like the other day, he was making fun of us. But let's see what he has to say.
Okay. Again, Steve, when we look out there, like when we see the sun in the sky, it's spherical, right? And it's orbiting, it's going around, it's spinning, right?
Look what he's doing.
So,
look what he's doing. He's literally doing this. Yeah, so many things that were incorrect. And a sphere is not necessarily a globe, Zachary. You can have a half globe. You can have a triangle. When you rotate it, can also be a sphere. And all the the trigonometry, all the astronomical mathematics that are done, just so conveniently works on a globe and a circle. So just get that in everyone's head as well, and make that make sense.
Again, just
and all the calculations are completely irrelevant to any axial tilt. And I've shared my chat GPT conversations. I've called this all out. They lie about distances and stuff like that. They try to deceive us. And unfortunately, he's still caught. But I think that any week now, he's going to look into it.
On observation and the fact that you really can't explain the phenomenon that we do see on this Earth.
Yes, I can.
On a flat Earth.
Yes, I can.
And you can. I know flat Earthers can't grasp this through your head, but you can. It seems that more evidence points towards the Earth being spherical. And again, when flat Earthers are like, do you really think the Earth's spinning? It's like, well, it's doing one rotate. Can you imagine if you had a basketball on your finger and it did one full rotation over 24 hours?
So he listens to Professor Dave, who's an idiot and not a real professor. And there's so many videos that I've done and others to debunk him. And Zachary, my question to you is what you're talking about now, that's another way that they're deceiving you, thinking oh, you would never feel the spin because it's over a 24-hour period. 1,690 kilometers an hour. 1,690 kilometers an hour, approximately 1,000 miles per hour. At the equatorial area, where apparently it spins the fastest, and zero, at the poles, which is also bullshit. I mean, that's not bullshit. It's zero. It doesn't move because this is a stationary, non-rotating plane, and I've shared countless evidence of that as well. But it's just frustrating that he's still on that. I don't even know what I was talking about with this, but anyway, you would feel that because it's per hour, not per day. Zachary, right? So if you want to get in a 24-hour period, if I can help you out with this, it's 690 times 12, or it could be 1,000 times. Sorry, not 12, 24. I'm trying to give him math. I'm going to break it down to you. Okay. 2 plus 2 is 8. All right. Let me break down how smart I am, right? It's not 4, it's 8. I'm just kidding. No, you're going to have to get per hour, and there's 24 hours in a day. And yeah, so you just got to times it by that, and then you would get the spin, or how much it friggin' moves, or whatever you're gonna call it, in a 24-hour period, which is bullshit. It's per hour, approximately 1,000 miles per hour, approximately whatever you want to call it, 1,666 fucking kilometers per hour. Deal with it.
Slow that spin would be.
It's not true. It doesn't spin. There's no spin. We're not moving.
I mean, it's all relative, but they're but no, it's 1,000 miles per hour. It's yeah, on a massive object. I mean, it's not you just realize these people have no concept of mathematics or perspective. So again, I think people who've
perspective, I know what a vanishing point is,
who've spent their last 7 years arguing over the shape of the Earth are the people who've missed the ball entirely. Like I said, in 2015, when Google made the flat Earth psyop viral, which was another big red flag. Google buries everything truth related. Google was back then censoring all kinds of content, banning everything related to questioning vaccines, but then making the flat Earth viral. It's they flushed out all the people questioning vaccines and other important things. That was getting deleted. And then the whole truth community, where before it was full of good knowledge and information, now it became this thing just full of more expanding flat Earth crap every day. And now people are arguing about the shape of the Earth rather than what's going on Earth. And all of a sudden, the truth community has become a bunch of Jesus freaks who seemingly don't have any common sense or know anything about anything, and who've replaced truth.
I'm not a Jesus freak. I think that Jesus Christ, just like Apollo, just like Mithras and Dionysus and countless others, I think that they are representations of the sun, the luminary above, which is possibly being projected. It's some kind of like contained environment, that's possibly using sonoluminescence and cymatics. And just to allude to that as well, with cymatics and sonoluminescence and the luminaries, I've shared this all as well. But again, this is the 201 video, so I would be remiss not to share the degrees in a hexagon, and the connection with Saturn, with the cube worship, all of this stuff. And so you have this as a hexagon, and you have it where there's 6 sides, of 120 degrees from the inside, which makes up 720. So you've got the 2, the 0, and the 7, like again for numbers as well. But you got the 120 for the inside degrees, and then the outside, if you put it here, that would be a 60 degree. If you look out, but then this cube right here that you see, this also fits into this hexagon, right? So if you put a line here, here, and down, this is now a cube, right? A 3-dimensional object. Well, anyways, this is a 2-dimensional object, but like, I mean, if you were to like see it in a three-dimensional sphere, like that's also very interesting. And then you've got like the Star of David, Solomon's seal, and so many other discussions about the 120. I hope that's interesting to people as well. I think that math is coded in this game. Well, I think that math is the code of this game. Sorry, I'll scratch that. Oh,
with what they believe in. And yeah, I've been saying the same thing the entire time. So,
there's definitely a creator. There's definitely a creator or creators that are higher levels of consciousness and experiencing like a higher level, higher dimensional realm, cosmos, whatever you want to call it. It might not be a cosmos, sorry, because or a universe. Like this is a unified force, light and motion. A cosmos or universe that's experiencing itself dualistically, like via electricity and magnetism, masculine and feminine, positive, negative, radiating, gravitating, cooling, heating.
Yeah, it's amazing how people care so much about what you think. And I mean, it's just like, I imagine, it's just like Steve's questions. Steve, why do you care what somebody's religious beliefs are? I know the answer to that's rhetorical. You want to make sure they're in the same group as you, right? Are they in my group?
Okay, 201. Come on.
34 years later? And I was just like, I didn't even respond back because I was just like, hey, he's a flat earther, right? I was like,
Zach.
Well, to see how messed up the world is, whereas the guy who went and got 5 degrees and makes 6 figures a year, that same person still can't figure out like that we're being lied to and can't accept that the sports game's rigged and that COVID's an agenda. The person I'm clowning on right now, he gets all that. He sees through all that. So that's like the thing that you can't even explain. It's like, okay, how can this guy who probably has a double-digit IQ, how can he get all this? But here's a guy who probably has an IQ close to 140, and he's taken by every last agenda and can't see through.
Because IQ is one form of measuring one's intelligence and wisdom, Zachary.
Through the obvious. So anyway. Yeah, again, I mean, the flat earthers are the Dunning-Kruger thing, man. It's just, it's annoying. It's annoying how like dumb people don't realize how dumb they are, and it's. If you are watching on your phone, you're gonna have to mute the video when you call in. But okay, only call in if you're Steve. 509. That's the area code 509. And they're just to the south of me. When that happens, the signal gets cut off anywhere.
I'm just going to see if there's any more 201 stuff that he's talking about. I'm sorry. Actually, I'll search for another video. He's probably got a few. I just went with the one that was at the top. And he mentions 201 a lot. Oh, actually, this one's pretty recent. The number 201. Okay, I'll see what he's saying now.
It
Oh,
didn't
yeah, so I've
exist,
watched
but
this one. I've watched 2646. I don't remember. Sometimes sometimes my videos, like I get videos that play through that I've never watched, and it's in my history, and it just played through. Like, I don't know why. Like, sometimes when I'm gone and stuff like that too. So, but this is the one I'm talking about. Wake the fuck radio. Wake the fuck up radio. I hope that you have discussions about flat Earth on this. And of course, it's 102 hours long.
Shout out to Ivan. Ivan submitted that as the latest candidate for the entry song to Wake the Fuck Up Radio. And this episode will be the third broadcast involved letters and numbers, or gematria or gematria Hebrew. The number 201 corresponds with both to light, like to light a candle, to bring light to a room, as well as the word to enlighten, which means to impart knowledge. And that's interesting because in English, we know the phrase knowledge is power. So let's make sure we're clear here. In Hebrew, in the study of gematria, the number 201 pertains to light. Again, like light in a room, like it's light in the daytime, as well as the phrase to enlighten. So 201 pertains to both, and that's in Hebrew. In English, the phrase knowledge is power has a gematria value of 201. And as a refresher, to get that, you just take the alphabetic order. A would be the first letter, B would be the second, C would be the third, up to Z. The 26th letter is 26. So when you write out knowledge is power, K is the first word in knowledge, and K is the 11th letter. So K would be worth 11, and the 14th letter would be 14. Oh, the 15th letter would be 15. You just add up all the letters of knowledge is power. It equates to 201. And you have to begin to ask yourself, well, who would encode the English language? Who would pay this tribute to Hebrew? And it's an interesting question. If you look into the phrase knowledge is power, who it's first credited to, it's credited to Francis Bacon. And if you're not familiar with Francis Bacon, many people believe he was
the one that wrote the Bible.
William Shakespeare, which is open for debate. But Francis Bacon was a right-hand man to King James in the time of the 16th century, a brilliant man, an occultist, a wordsmith, and someone who did help edit the King James Bible. As another reminder, last week in episode 2, when we covered gematria, we talked about how there's 4 base ciphers of the English language. The alphabetic order, A is 1 up to Z is 26. The alphabetic order in reverse, and both orders applying numerology. With regards to Francis Bacon being one of the editors of the King James Bible, it's interesting that the phrase, or not the phrase, but the words, the Holy Bible, when you run the alphabetic order in reverse, the Holy Bible equates to 201. And traditionally, gematria pertains to the beginning of the Bible, the Torah, or the first 5 books of Moses. The study of gematria, the numbers behind the words in the Torah, it's considered Jewish mysticism. That phrase, Jewish mysticism, also equates to 201. So far in English, we're talking about knowledge is power. 201, knowledge is light, going back to the old Hebrew root. And again, the study pertains to the Bible, the Holy Bible 201. And
Bible.
Jewish mysticism. As we'll get to a little bit later, State of Israel, the Jewish nation at this day and age, has that 201. We'll talk more about that in a moment, including David Ben Gurion, the first.
I have this book as well. I think it's Andrew Henry. Is it not?
Prime Minister dying 201 days after the anniversary of Israel's establishment.
Andrew? I'll be right back.
But 201.
Edward. It's Edward. You're right.
Coming back.
Edward Henry.
To
Sorry.
who encoded the language this way? Was it just Francis Bacon?
You were right. I was wrong. I'm so sorry about that. Edward Henry. The greatest lie on earth. Proof that our world is not a moving globe. So much good work in here. It's I've gone through it a lot, so like the pages are. Anyway. Edward Henry. Carrying on.
Of course, it wasn't just Francis Bacon. You know, Francis Bacon, I'm no doubt, in the key moment in the 16th century, more than likely had a hand in it. Again, if you look into history, in the 16th century, English was standardized as a 26-letter alphabet. The Gregorian calendar rolled out. That's the calendar that says, you know, today, the day of this broadcast, it's March 9th, 2024. But at the same moment, in the 16th century, the language established, the calendar established. As we talked about last week, the calendar and the language very much in sync. And that was the century of the Jesuit order. And interestingly enough, whereas Francis Bacon was a friend of King James, the Jesuits were a foe. And I'm sure you've heard before.
Sorry, I like these comments are hilarious. Yeah, like because people like automatically assume because they're seeing a circle, something that is circular, which could be a cone, it could be a it could be a half sphere, it could be a sphere, it could be so many different things. I've shared the different objects, like when you're looking at it from anyway, various perspectives, that it could be similar. And the same thing, like when you're looking at a friggin' like light above, like you know, just because like the friggin' light bulb is a friggin' like a certain shape, does that mean automatically that like the friggin' ground I'm on is the same friggin' shape? Just because like this is why like these arguments are so ridiculous. And yes, I do know the travel, like the sun path that it travels. I know that better than anyone. I think at this point, like the way that I've explained this, and I mean, this is not me bragging or anything like that, but just talking about like the degrees of latitude, like the measurable distances, like its journey where it's passed through the zodiacal belts, and then even within it, like only moving like 8 degrees, like plus or minus the zodiacal belt on its journey. All of this stuff, like the measuring the calculations between the Tropic of Capricorn and Cancer, and the equatorial location, and you name it, and the sonoluminescence, or the cymatics, and the so many friggin' different things with the sun that like and Zach, come on. Anyway.
Or remember the 5th of November, made famous in the V for Vendetta movie. But November 5th is the day in history that the Jesuit order tried to kill King James and destroy the idea of the King James Bible being published.
I don't know about that. Because even with that, like Bill Cooper was murdered on November 5th, 2001, because of what he was sharing about regarding November 11th. That was staged and planned for ages before it actually happened. And there were crisis actors involved. There were plants involved. There were, you friggin' name it, involved. And there was messaging in various forms of social media for years. I've shared these videos. So I've just been heavily censored, so you're not seeing them. So Don189 on Rumble, you're going to get way more videos than YouTube. Way more.
The Jesuits served the Catholic Church, and the church didn't want, you know, this English translation of the Bible printed and spread out, I suppose, to the proles, as George Orwell might have called them. But okay, 16th century, 201. The century of the Jesuits. Funny enough, the Jesuit order, just like the Holy Bible equates to 201. And again, the Jesuits, a priest class, and also the military order of the Catholic Pope. The Jesuit...
And my family, like the Dussaus, they were Jesuits. I've said this before. It doesn't mean they were evil people. I don't think they were necessarily. I don't know. I'm not them. And this was hundreds of years ago. And the first instances of Dussaus coming to Canada, like in the 14, 15, and 1600s. And then even Eli Dussault marrying an indigenous woman here that had already been married to someone before him. And they had kids together and stuff like that. And he was a Jesuit, but like how did he raise his kids? Like, did he raise them like more like in line with like the indigenous ways? Like apparently he settled and didn't live in the built up areas that other people lived in, like that were part of his groups. He lived on the land with his wife and kids and stuff like that, and lived a more moderate lifestyle, more conservative lifestyle. And Josephine Nicolet.
Order 201, which ties right in with their founder, Ignatius of Loyola. His name, Ignatius of Loyola, also equates to 201. And if you fast forward to today, we're living in the time of the first ever publicly Jesuit Pope right now.
And the Dussaults also had the negative blood types. And so there's that as well. All interesting.
Francis, and he is the first Jesuit Pope and the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. His birth name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio. That's Pope Francis, equates to 201. Jorge Mario Bergoglio, 201. The name of his apartment is called the Domus Sanctae Martyr. It also equates to 201. And that building that he lives in was first built in tribute to Pope Leo, who, funny enough, died in history on the 201st day of the year, July 20th.
Yeah, so the 201st day of the year. And also the sun, one of the 7 original luminaries, rules over Leo, the out of the zodiac signs, the astrological signs. And it's one of the 2 luminaries that rules over one zodiacal sign, while the other luminaries, they rule over 2. Cancer being the other one. Cancer, like the moon allegedly rules over Cancer, and the sun rules over Leo. I don't know why.
The anniversary of the moon landing.
I would have like possibly said like the opposite. Like I would have said something like, because the like the sun is highest in the sky, or closest to North America, closest to the center of the Earth, on the 21st of June during the summer solstice, and that's when the sun's going from Gemini to Cancer. So why is it when they're transitioning from Cancer into Leo? I don't know.
And if you can believe it, Neil Alden Armstrong equates to 201. And if you think about that, the moon is illuminated. It's lit up by the sun.
No, it's not.
So the moon landing, the illuminated object, happened on the 201st day of the year. At least so we're told. And that takes us back to the 16th century, because in addition to, Francis Bacon and the King James Bible and the Jesuits and the calendar and the language, the other thing that happened in the 16th century is the heliocentric model was agreed to. The model that says the sun is the center and Earth and the other planets are orbiting around it. Up until that moment in history, there was very much a debate about the sun being the center with everything moving around it. But in the 16th century, it was agreed to that the sun is at the middle. And heliocentrism, the name of the model, equates to 201. Light, again. The source of light is the
heliocentrism equals 201. Zachary, this is what I mean. Like, he's proving our point more.
Sun. So doesn't it make
and
sense
calling
that
us
the
dumb
model that says the source of light is the center of it all equates to 201? Again, once you become aware of this, there's a lot of rhyme and reason to history and what's taking place up to this very moment. Okay, coming back to the point about the Jesuits. From the day that Martin Luther, not to be confused with
Apollo 11 in reverse ordinal is 102.
Martin Luther King Jr., but Martin Luther,
That
who
was
led
allegedly the first Apollo mission for the guys to the landing on the moon.
the Protestant Reformation, from the day that he pinned the 95 Theses to Castle Church, from that day to the day that the Jesuit order was created, which was August 15th, 1534 in Paris, France, was 201 months later. 201 months. 201. And mind you, the Jesuits were created in Paris, France. The last pope that was French in the history of the Catholic Church happened to be the 201st.
Like, this is not my fault. Like, I know my family comes from France on my father's side, of like paternal side, and that they were negative friggin' blood types, and that they were friggin' Jesuits, and they came to Canada and the US in the early friggin' anyway.
Pope in the history of the church. Pope Francis is the first publicly Jesuit pope. And for the record, Pope Francis is the 266th pope in the history of the church. The Jesuit motto, Isus hominum salvator, equates to 266. You might recall when he spoke in Washington, D.C., September 23rd, 2015. That was the 266th day of the year. And as we'll get to, the capital city for the U.S., Washington, D.C., is where the Jesuits originally set up camp when they came to the country. Okay, so moving ahead, we've covered the 16th century, the language, the calendar, Francis Bacon, King James, the Bible, the Jesuits. A little bit further into history, May 1st, 1776.
Okay, you know, I'm just doing like simple searches. This is what I mean, like, Zach, man, get me on your freaking show. Holy. When I told people, like, I put on this like natural like foam stuff like can like darken you. I think it might have a caffeine or coffee bean, anyway, stuff in it as well. But like, I have to leave it on for a few hours, but it looks crazy. All right, I'm not doing friggin' brown face here. I swear to God, like, I promise you, I am not doing that. This is part of the friggin' anyway. Sharing screen. Not gonna believe it. Not gonna friggin' believe it. So the King James Version of the Holy Bible was first published in 1611. I already told you that. And then 6 + 1 = 7. You got the 7-11, all that stuff. And with the 9/11 connection, September 11th, September set, the numero set. So you've got that correlation as well. But it was 2017, 577 minus 5. Anyway, in the Hebrew calendar. Oh, will have been in existence for 406 years. Okay, so I had to like read through this. Never mind. Because I typed in 201 and I thought that it was because I know that the Hebrew calendar is different. But it's 5777 and 5778. I thought I was onto something here. Because it had the 2017, you've got the 2701, you've got that in there as well. And you've got the 201 in that, is what I meant by that. So let's see here. And God said, let there be light. – 2017, 2018. Still nothing is really popping out. Let me see. Let's see here. That would have been cool, though. Anyway. I hope you can see this. Unpacking 666. Let me see here. Nothing really that I haven't mentioned. Anyways, I'm going to keep doing digging and see, because Zachary usually has like really good tidbits of information. I don't want to miss it.
64 days before July.
But he's the one that got me onto Woo's News. regarding the January 6th riots. Like I already was talking about it since day one, even before it happened. I was saying that this was something that was likely going to happen and that there was going to be crisis actors used and all this stuff. I called out Ray Epps from the friggin' beginning, you name it. And but like with the Ashley Babbitt information and stuff like that, and like other footage that I just didn't have access to this summer, like he had mentioned it on one of his videos. And so I did some searching, and so yeah, it was incredible. It was an incredible piece of information.
4th, 1776, was celebrated as the birthday of this nation. Jesuit-trained Adam Weishaupt, who was Jewish, founded the Illuminati. And he quickly named the order of Illuminati, which, if you can believe it, equates to 201. And in history, he died November 18th, 1830. That was 201 days after the anniversary of the Illuminati's establishment on May 1st. 201 days. And it's noteworthy that he died on November 18th because that's the 322nd day of the year. 322. That matters because, again, Jewish mysticism equates to 201, and Jewish mysticism is largely based in Kabbalah.
Oh my goodness. So this is on the record. And ironically, Huntmar Police Station, where there were law enforcement people that were fucking harassing me, that were also, again, not just me, but Helen Gruce, Ottawa Police Services, that worked at Huntmar for over 7 years, but like with the Ottawa Police Services for over 20 years. Also, she's charged, suspended, over $100,000 in court fees, all of this stuff. And on 25th of March, she has a one-day additional friggin' hearing here at Huntmar. But I was saying on the record that I had and I was too scared to honestly to call 911 or law enforcement when it happened. But on the 27th of September, 2021, this was a few months after law enforcement came to my house randomly in the middle of not in the middle of the night, late at night when I was in bed. Complex PTSD veteran, all this stuff, already being harassed and shit like that, like literally came to my house. And I think it's because of how I was voting. I think it's or what I was sharing, right, with COVID and the friggin' mandates and all that stuff. I think it was an intimidation tactic. And because I was in Ottawa, like I was literally in the friggin' hornet's nest, crazy friggin' times. And so and again, they were like lying about things. They were trying to allege I did things that I had zero, like that I absolutely did not do. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I was so confused. And again, they try to get you when you're asleep so that you're groggy and so that you might say things or mess up or like admit to things that you didn't do just because you know what I mean? And so all fucking disgusting things to do to a veteran that's been of service, that I like buried someone I loved overseas. Like, give me a fucking break. You know what I mean? And and presiding officer for like people that committed suicide that I loved and adored and worked with and stuff like that. Like, fuck yourselves. You know, you fucking, anyway, I get so mad. But anyways, so after all of that, and I'm sharing information, like I'm like, look at my sent messages, look at my fucking emails, look at my stuff, like look at my phone, like I'm like, I have nothing to fucking hide. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And like, if you're going to allege anything, in fact, I actually have complaints that I've put against other people, and you guys have done nothing against veterans actually stalking me and harassing me and threatening me. And I'm like, I've shared the videos, I've shared the photos, I've shared all of that fucking stuff, and you guys are doing nothing about it. So why the fuck, just because of how I'm talking on social media, saying like, talking about excessive deaths and vaccine side effects and stuff like that, anyway, so humiliating and making me look like a criminal to my neighbors and stuff like that in suburbia. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And so like, another reason why I was like, I need to fucking move because these people are crazy. Gestapo types, like, what are you talking about? And I gave these people the medical, scientific, and government data that literally debunked everything the fucking experts were saying. And so even not, like, I'm like, wow, like, you're not even anyway, you're not even gonna try to help Canada. And anyway, so 27th of September of 2021, a few months after that fucking disaster, I was so overwhelmed with that, and like thinking like they would like plant things, you know, like on me or around me that, you know, just to make me look like a criminal, even though I'm not. And so it was overwhelming. And I'm like, wow, I've been working with government and around government my entire over 20 years. And I'm like, this is the things I get. And it's all freaking like parking meter cops too. They're doing it, not the higher level ones like Helen Gruce. And on the 27th of September of 2021, two guys in construction vests, but they looked like, well, they were 100%, they were immigrants. I don't know how long they were here, but they didn't speak really good English at all. And like people of color, whatever you want to call it, and tried to break into my home. And so I closed my door. I locked it because after they ran off, and they were circling my block. Like I saw where they went, and I saw the vehicle they got into. There was another driver there circling my block, and I was recording all of this stuff. And like with the lights off and stuff like that. And anyway, in an area where I was safe and recording and all that stuff, like I said, and I didn't even want to call 911 because I knew what had happened with things like Anne Hesh and how and in my head, like, wow, like, are people that are going to respond from 911? Are they going to be people that are going to help me, or part of this, right? Like, was this an attack, or was this an attempt to get me to call 911 because of the perceived threat to my life, and it just being a ruse to get me to call 911? And then maybe the people who respond are not actually first responders, right? Because that has happened before as well, where people are crisis actors, and they actually pretend and use actual fucking vehicles that look like real law enforcement or vehicles or ambulances. I know how this fucking sounds, but I've showed the proof. Don 189 on Rumble, I've showed the proof. I've showed the videos. Like, I've showed the proof. And so I waited till the next day. Like, I made it where I'm like, I called the non-emergency line that night, and I said, no one needs to come today, but if someone can come tomorrow or the next day, I'm like, I already have like the video evidence. I'm like, I have a witness. I've communicated with someone over the phone, blah, blah, blah as well. And I shared it on my Twitter so you can look at it. But the 27th of September of 2021. And that's just like more like it's the 270th day of the friggin' year. So even with that, like, in my address, by the way, with different variations of the numbering systems, has the 27, the 0, and the 1 in it. And even my phone number, my last 4 digits, has the variation of the 2701 in it. And I've had that since I first got a cell phone, ladies and gentlemen. I've always had it where I always wanted the last 4 digits because of my connections to my old address, 102 201 201, and in Gaspé. And then also with our phone number in Gaspé having the 2701 in it. Like, I'm not even making this stuff up. I couldn't even script this. And so that's all interesting. And then I'm just going through the list here. So this is from Zachary. This is from his blog page. Heliocentrism, it's 201. The Jesuits, the Gregorian calendar, and the sun being 93 million miles away. But even with the 93 or the 39, 9 times 3 is 27. You've got the 2 and the 7 there with that. And 39 books in the Old Testament, conveniently enough, and then 27 in the New, which adds up to 66. And then even with the 39, 3 times 9 is 27. So even with that, you've got the 2, 7, the 2, 7. If you want to like further break them down, it could be 2 plus 7 is 9. So you've got the 99. And anyway, there's just so much symbolism that you can look at. This, to me, like, if you look at it this way, it looks like SHIT. I'm just saying. Crazy connections, hey? I'm running friggin' so long. I'm so sorry about that. So anyway, I could go on forever, but I think on that note, I will. Oh yes, 322 Skull and Bones. Yep, coming up in the next 9 days or whatever. And that's always a pretty interesting day. Crazy times. Anyways, on that note, I will leave it at that. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of your day.